all you people who are out there watching on live stream. We're still sort of gathering ourselves. So thank you for your patience, and we'll start very shortly as soon as I can corral everyone in. Thank you. Of God and everyone. Hello. You're going to find out, like, we're incredibly informal here. Hi, come on in. Oh, look, more people. Yay! Am I echoing? Yes, I am. Voila. I'm coming out here. Can I turn it off for the moment? Hi, Shannon. Hi. Nice to see you. Oh, so we just have to remember to turn that one back on when we do the videos. You can help me remember. So, actually, you can sit in the front row. Nobody's going to bite you.
Well, one of us might.
There's a place here too, Barbara. Oh, okay. There's some more. Oh boy, we might have to open more chairs. Whatever. Unload more chairs. They're on the trolley there. You can tell. Okay. This is sort of yeah, we're very informal. And I just want to give you a heartfelt greeting. Thank you for being here this evening as we remember our dear friend Rana. And let's see, where's Joe? Where did you go, Jody? Oh, you're right in front of me. Jody's been a great help to me, and so we've tried to work this out together. We had a conversation, and in a moment she'll come and do the land acknowledgement for us. But I also want to acknowledge my other co-host, Brian, who I think is still stuck at the door, perhaps. Yeah, so Brian will be up here shortly, and I think he's going to be introducing the people who are participating in our open mic. Just before I start, Did anybody else want to participate in the open mic tonight? No. Okay. Did you want to say a few words? No. No. Okay. We're so grateful that you're here. Thank you. Jody. So, Jody Freeman.
Rana asked me to write a land acknowledgement for his play Tribes to follow immediately after his play. Segwam, Kwekwe, bonjour. Hello, everyone. This land, Tiohtià:ke, was taken. It was never surrendered. This is live, unceded territory. Can you hear its heartbeat? Its guardians, the Kanien'kehá:ka Mohawk people, and the Algonquin and Huron-Wendat peoples who share deep ties with this land, have long considered the mountains, the rivers, the forests and skies, and all living things as kindred, family, all our relations, not as disposable resources to be consumed, despoiled, and spit out. Indigenous teachings have not been silenced, even in the face of genocide and 500 years of colonial plunder and devastation. They are driving global efforts to restore balance between all our relations. Can you feel their pulse? The way of peace and friendship is recorded in the Turo Wampum, this 400-year-old agreement between the Haudenosaunee people and the Dutch settlers who began occupying their lands to the south of Tiohtià:ke is still considered a living treaty. 2 rows of purple wampum shells on a white background represent 2 boats, a Haudenosaunee canoe and a Dutch ship traveling side by side down the river. The 3 white stripes denote peace and friendship forever. Can you picture it? Each nation respects the ways of the other as they meet to discuss the issues before them as equals. Here is how the Onondaga Nation expresses this promise. Together we will travel in friendship and in peace forever, as long as the grass is green, as long as the water runs downhill, as long as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and as long as our Mother Earth will last. We are in this together. Agwegon Sketne. Thank you. Merci. Nyawan. Chimigwech. Tiawang.
So I just want to remind people that you don't have to be very close to the mic, but you have to be in front of the mic. And if you're too close, you'll pop your what are those words called? The P's and things like that. Anyway, thank you. I knew there was a word. There was a word I was looking for. I've been looking for that word for a long time. No. Here, could you get off? Oops. Could you just, Brian? Yes. You're actually sitting on two chairs. Here's the chair. Here's the chair. That's a chair right here. I think that's my chair. Unless you want me to sit on your lap, you know. But, yeah. So we'll just settle. We'll settle a little. That's just where I'm going to do the videos from when I do the videos. That's why I have that chair. And If we need more chairs, we just bring them. Okay? And I can't seem to control. So first this evening, it's really loud, I think. We're not really introducing people other than their names. It's open mic, and but if you want to introduce yourself to everyone when you start, that's lovely. So Nigel Thomas is going to start us off because what he has to say will prepare us for the video that follows. What's that? Is that too strong? But anyway, come Nigel, please.
Hello, everyone. It's a joyous, yet of course sad occasion. I'm happy to share, to give voice to some of Rana's writing. I'll be reading from the fourth canvas, which is his, I think it's his second novel. I began reading it shortly after. Actually, I think I began reading it before I met Rana. Anyway, I'm reading from the very end of the novel, where all the ideals that the novel, the characters, the scenarios are working towards get concretized. The he here is actually Claude. He smiled and remembered how far he was from Montreal, kidnapped and delivered efficiently to this mountain institute in the Andes. Yes, they were formidable. The institute had the idea that Camilo and Claude might somehow have some past connection, Shireen stated. Some time ago, Claude pondered. We are pretty sure you know of this Comandante and you would like to meet him. Again, there was a twinkle in her eyes. Claude was not sure who he was and why he was being introduced. They exchanged greetings, and Claude remarked that he was but a failed doctoral candidate from McGill University. The more they spoke, the more Claude realized what Guillermo had meant for a whole generation and more. He was a door in the real sense. He got people together. He brought ideas together. He made things happen. He discovered the loose ends and tied them up. He was not merely a thinker and philosopher. He lived his beliefs. He had struck out a long time ago, quietly, to make things happen, one by one, without a fuss and with a deep sense of organization. That's what it took. He made people realize their ideals, and he was practical. He was able to generate the resources to make things happen. Camilo was precise. A painter and a writer, he's a philosopher and guiding spirit without being a demagogue or iconoclast. A mentor, advisor, and a storyteller whose face bears evidence of the anguish of several generations. But he's not a poster boy. He's past all that. You seem to put a lot of faith and hope in him, no doubt, Claude said, with a contrived skepticism in order to maintain a safe distance within his own mind as to the reality of the situation he was in. He was on the threshold of a turning point in his life, and he stared into the eyes of Camilo. As he stared into the eyes of Camilo, he remembered someone dearly. Camilo thought for a while. He has known those who had lost hope, those who regained hope, those who stayed frightened, those who came out in the open and made their mark, those who remained vigilant, and those who wished to learn from the mistakes of the past, but did not condemn it. We're all people who want to contribute to the world we live in and not simply take away and go into a selfish world of our own. He was, in essence, not only a creator of alternate ideas. He has created the structures for alternate organizations. He has made real the idealism we all have. This even makes governments wake up and start collaborating with each other. Why do poor nations fight each other? Makes no sense. Sometimes the credit goes to Jimmy Carter and sometimes to some high-ranking UN officials. But it is Guillermo and our institute that prepares the ground for peace. They spoke for almost an hour. Camilo did not ask about his sister. Claude knew better than to bring her up himself. But he was feeling comfortable with this place. The concrete corridors of his academic life had been left far behind. Eking out a daily existence devoid of ideals, chewing life to the bone till it assumed the proportion of a chore, was something that he could not go back to. It was already all too distant. Montreal was remote. Thank you.
So get ready for the funny sound. I hope this works. Okay, Brian, you want to introduce this?
Yes, okay. Let's see a video.
Try using Mike.
Oh, Mike. We must speak with Mike. Mike is our best friend. Okay, so.
Or not.
Or not, yes, depending on, sometimes our worst enemy, especially mic drop and, etc. All right, so, hot mic, that guy is really dangerous. Anyway,
Yes, it's an echo.
I'm getting an echo.
Just get to the point.
I get to the point, yes. To the point. Yes, you can cut all that out. All right, so.
I know.
I find it quite disconcerting. All right, so this is a video. It's entitled The Fourth Canvas, is it not?
Yes.
Yes? Yes, and it features Rana, and after that we'll have a few readers, and then we'll have another video. Anyway, that's enough. Okay, all right.
First of all, it's an awesome audience.
Why not doing, Ted? The sound is on. Yes, but why didn't I see it come upstairs? Was it coming on? Oh, okay.
One of the videos
Thank you very much for being here tonight. And I'm kind of awestruck because it's been a while since we've been doing theater, and a lot of you are theater people, dance people, cinema people, writers, poets, so it's great to be here. The novel is set in various parts of the world. It goes to Buenos Aires in Argentina, then Bolivia, La Paz, Peru, Lima, Havana, then Montreal, NDG, and then goes on to England, London, and Paris to a cemetery, and then has a flashback, to 140 years back in India. So I'm going to read to you from a section that's set in Montreal. It's called Two Periods of Rise, Two Periods of Decline. The sun had plummeted down hurriedly in an unexpected and sneaky manner. Moments before, Claude had seen it from the window, high up in the sky, dawdling and sluggish. There was now a timid darkness in the southeast and a faint glow dissipating rapidly in the northwest horizon. An elderly man moseyed down the sidewalk, pushing a wobbly shopping cart loaded with belongings wrapped in transparent plastic bags tied up with yellow nylon cords. Only the cords seemed new. Claude thought he recognized them. The wind rustled the leaves in the large trees that stood in front of the building and then picked up enormous momentum and rushed through the side lane. There was a contingency in the air, but he felt no need to respond. Once again he had slept in and skipped going to his office at McGill. He had left behind some undergrad papers which he had to grade. He would sneak in sometime late in the evening and bring the work back home. He was avoiding his colleagues and the professors. The unpainted concrete corridors in his department felt like a long, cold walk through an underground bunker to an academic dead end. Dire signals of lack of progress on his part fluttered on his face in the form of teasing flyers, thumbtacked on notice boards announcing a postdoctoral scholarship to reputed universities all over the world. He had walked out of a graduate committee meeting and expressed in no uncertain terms that a PhD ought not to be made into a chore. He was not ready. He was not sure it would serve any purpose to complete it. He was not sure if a PhD in political theory made any sense unless it was strictly to attain academic and teaching status. Praxis was key. He was stuck on that word, praxis, a Latin word. To do things with what you feel and know about, the process of putting theoretical knowledge into practice. Stepping out and walking the talk. The whole institution around a doctoral thesis had become like a patent office application. Prior art had to be outwitted by some obscure facts and argumentation. Claude felt strongly the need to outwit the process itself. He rolled over and sat on his bed. His knees felt stiff and unusually rigid. He looked down at his chest. His breasts had begun to lose their tightness lately. He put his hands on his knees and pushed himself up. His breath felt stale. He liked to put the palm of his hand on his mouth and breathe in and out rapidly. Smells made him conscious in a mischievous manner, made him feel congenial and comfortable with himself, while possibly foul to others. Clara did not really care. He smiled to himself. Sometimes he raised his arms and took in a whiff of his armpits in the morning. There was an energetic liveliness there, a near sensual foulness as opposed to the tiredness in the mouth. He turned around as his knees emitted a joint-splitting osteopathic drum roll. He had stopped running weeks ago. The bedspread was crumpled on the other side. No sign of Clara. She had left. Maybe early. Or maybe they took her. A CBC radio program was playing Diana Krall's Crimea River. There's nothing as frustrating as being viewed as a crackpot by stolid academics. Departure from the norm was how he was being repeatedly and politely told off by his own advisor, Lawrence Feldman. A Harvard alumnus, Feldman was well reputed in the theories of nation-states, their evolution and devolution. At a recent gathering in Feldman's penthouse apartment on Pine Avenue, Claude had felt out of place and isolated. His colleagues in the department seemed to chatter incessantly about every possible political movement in the world. There was always this knowing banter about globalization, third world debt, neocons in DC, the World Bank, and finally there was a groupie gang that circulated the myriad corridors of the apartment discussing Palestine, refugee rights, female circumcision, and how bad things were and how something must be done. There was a hollow, matter-of-fact activism that rang awfully untrue to his ears as Claude leaned against the wall, careful not to disturb the charms, amulets, and masks that hung from the walls and stared with censoring eyes at him. Clara could not make it as she was on the graveyard shift that night. This made him doubly conscious of the need for support. The walls were not enough. A professor from Concordia University swayed past him, unable to hold down her red wine, but nonetheless, in a charming manner, said, "Ah, Claude Chiraghi, is it not? I remember your intervention last year at the colloque on empires. Interesting. This was one way of saying what a strange fuck-up he was when it came to political theory. Neither here nor there, neither culture nor political economy, neither the marketplace nor the superstructure. What then was it all about? Make up your mind, kid. It was at this point that Claude excused himself and walked out of the apartment. A stiff breeze hit him as he emerged out of the canopied gates of the building. He put on his headphones, lifted the collars of his jacket, and walked down the hill listening to the funk from a Brit-Asian hip-hop band that Clara had recently given to him. It was quasi-fusion, mixing Bronx backbeats with an Asian tenor. It felt refreshing, an equalizing tenor. Late in the afternoon, after an unusually heavy leftover meal, Claude and Clara had fallen asleep, staring at the painting. As in a Goya, apparitions and dark characters hovered around in the background, while the main body of the painting depicted a well-known incident. There was a plaza that seemed to be glowing on one end as if the embers of a nearby fire struggled to stay alive. On the other end, there was wetness, dampness, like after a thunder shower. They had started talking about the plaza, all the plazas in the centers of towns, plazas in all Latin American countries, plazas in Europe and elsewhere, plazas where tanks roll, plazas with balconies that have national flags draped over them, plazas that have newly victorious clenching their fists with militant gestures or waving their palms in a pope-like condescending manner at the rabble below. Plazas like in Hollywood films where all the bad guys look like disheveled, mean-mannered guerrilleros with red lips and spit dribbling out as they hurl invectives at Yankees and gringos. Plazas like the Plaza del Mayo where mothers and sisters clang empty cooking pots and bring attention to the people who have disappeared without trace. Plazas where some giant shadow had come and enveloped the city and lifted its sons and daughters away. The words slipped out of his brains, but not out of his lips in a lazy, reckless manner. They must have taken her. He smiled and rubbed his palm over his sagging biceps. The table lamp was not in its place. Last night Clara had been on all fours searching for a hair clip she had misplaced. She had gone under the bed with the lamp. She never found it, but she left the lamp on the floor. The lamp sat next to the painting, its switch a few feet away from Claude's fingertips. Out of sheer distraction or a certain mechanical listlessness, he flicked the switch on and off several times. It was then that he noticed it. Dos periodos de ascenso seguidos por dos periodos de declinación. 2 periods of rise followed by 2 periods of decline. 2 handwritten lines in Spanish, barely visible in the background of the painting, in an area where the artist had left a sandy-colored impression of the cobbled street in the plaza. Each line was written as a column. Every time the light was switched off, the faint lines left an imprint on his eyes. He stood up and bent down, and then crawled closer to view the cobbled pathways in the plaza. They stayed visible for a few nanoseconds, as in a film negative. Claude kept flicking the switch several times to accentuate and prolong the effect. Suddenly, a new world had opened up in front of him. The corridors of his academic institution were receding as the cobbled plaza invited him in. Thank you.
Certainly very comprehensive and detailed exposition. All right, so welcome to the mic. Mary Jose, okay? Oh, I didn't realize that. I'm being captured.
It bends. Here? This? No, there? Non. Ah, c'est correct, non? Bind. Ah, bon, ah, excusez.
Ça va?
Oui, ok, c'est bon. Bonsoir. Je vais vous lire un texte que j'ai écrit pour mon Montréal Soirée le 30 mars 2019. Et donc, c'est dans commentaire essai. Et le titre, c'est « Ni autochtone ni blanche ». Kouai, bonjour. Ndaleweze, Malé Sauzé Tremblay. Je m'appelle Marie-Josée Tremblay. Nwalonze, Nécoon. Je me sens bien et vous? Plaque mon nom, toi, je parle français. Déglisse mon adois, je parle anglais. Merci. Dalnomba ondois, je parle abénaki. Il y a 2 ans, j'ai commencé à apprendre la Alnomba ondois wangan, langue abénakise. Cela a duré 1 an. Puis, l'année dernière, les cours ont repris. J'avais envie de partager avec vous un peu de mon apprentissage de cette langue qui m'a été si familière dès le premier cours. La Alnomba ondois wangan, langue abénakise, j'en suis tombée amoureuse. C'est vrai, j'avais l'impression que je retrouvais ma langue maternelle. Pourtant, j'ai été adoptée très jeune par l'intermédiaire du père Boyle, jésuite. Je suis métisse Anishinaabe, algonquine. En poussant davantage mes recherches généalogiques, je suis certaine que je trouverai aussi des racines abénakises. Je viens d'une famille adoptive non raciste. Ma mère est née à Saint-Henri, mon père à Hochelaga-Maisonneuve. Il a été lieutenant dans l'armée canadienne, positionné en Angleterre pendant la Deuxième Guerre mondiale. La division raciale n'existait pas dans notre famille, tant au sujet des minorités qu'à celui de la Église Monon-Douawangan, langue anglaise. Moi, je ne suis qu'une métisse à tes yeux, une adoptée, sans carte, sans preuve, sans communauté, avec parents adoptifs et religion catholique, en plus qui parle français, tandis que toi, tu parles majoritairement anglais, avec tous les droits possibles. Est-ce qu'on doit vraiment avoir une barrière entre nous? Que dire sur la séparation entre nations provoquée par les langues ainsi que tout le reste? Pourtant, toi aussi, tu as été adopté, tu as retrouvé ta famille comme moi. Avant même que les colons arrivent au Québec et au Canada, les différentes nations autochtones s'entretuaient. Par la suite, les colons s'installent. Certaines nations se sont alliées avec les Français de France et d'autres avec les Anglais d'Angleterre. D'où la division entre les peuples autochtones, leur langue et leur religion. Résultat, langue parlée français, anglais autochtone, religion choisie catholique, protestante, traditionnelle et j'en passe. Donc, pour qu'un autochtone soit reconnu comme un vrai autochtone, le gouvernement lui demande de prouver le pourcentage autochtone qui coule dans ses veines. Cette loi augmente la division, la discorde, la rupture entre les nations. Une loi totalement inacceptable. Comment le prouver? C'est une situation grotesque et déchirante. C'est ridiculiser les Autochtones. Le gouvernement a créé le chaos entre nous pour, encore une fois, nous isoler, nous détruire et nous exterminer. En plus, on entend les discours sur la réconciliation entre non-autochtones et autochtones. Je suis bien d'accord, mais que fait-on de la réconciliation entre les nations autochtones ainsi qu'entre les autochtones et les métis? À quand cette réconciliation? Rien n'a changé entre nous ou si peu. Donc, parler de métissage est encore plus compliqué. Vous pouvez comprendre un peu mieux comment je peux me sentir dans tout ce casse-tête. Je ne le répéterai jamais assez, je ne suis ni l'une ni l'autre, ni autochtone, ni blanche. Ndaleweze, Malé Sauzé Tremblay, je m'appelle Marie-Josée Tremblay. Nwege Moléanek, j'habite Montréal. Olé Nanawal Mezé, prends bien soin de toi. Oleone, merci. Oleone à Montréal, Soirée, puis Oleone à Rana. Adéo, au revoir.
Soirée.
I'm going to, hello everybody. I'm going to read a short excerpt from Rana's fine novel, Schaff and the Remington. But before I do that, I just want to say a few things about Rana. I feel deeply grateful to have known Rana, to have read his books, to have heard him read his phenomenal poetry, to have experienced his immense generosity and his brilliant worldview. My conversations with Rana over the years have been fleeting, usually during literary events with lots of people around. I got to know him a bit better last December when we were preparing for one of his last events. It took place in his favorite local haunt, Mercanti Cafe on Monkland, and Rana made it epic. The event featured Nigel, Gloria Macher, and Sujay Soko, all of us led by Rana's thinking. He didn't want it to be a conventional event. He wanted to celebrate the very act of writing, bringing people together over ideas and good food. Before the event, we had some enlightening conversations, and it was clear to me that Rana, once again, was 10 steps ahead of me. He put into words the ideas that were floating in my head in an incoherent, tangled mess. Rana wanted us to articulate why we write. It sounds simple, but it's really hard to do, for me anyway. For Rana, it was crystal clear and rested on 2 essential principles that, if you think about it, are present in all his work. Why write? First, there's the impulse to disturb and bring about change. Disturb and bring about change. Second, to recount history so as not to forget and repeat the mistakes of the past. Underlying Rana's principles is the commitment to compassion and empathy. How else can our differences be bridged? Rana was a bridge builder, and he did this through Montreal Soirée and through his writing. Connecting ideas, people, art and physics, the past and the future. It's all here in Schaff and the Remington, his latest novel set in the imaginary Balkan town of Zabzic. Main feature of the town, like so many other towns in the countries formerly part of Yugoslavia, is the bridge. Here's a short excerpt in which the main character, Ben, foreshadows the conflicts that would eventually tear his country apart. Schaff and the Remington by Rana Bose, Chapter 26. In our part of the world, we had a thing about stone bridges, often built with iconic intent, like bridging 2 religions, 2 peoples, and 2 aspirations. Our bridges reflected the centuries of visits by viziers and dukes who brought their music, their marching soldiers, their religions, their eating habits, and their plans to live together. But they also brought along their not so well concealed apprehensions about living with each other. I was crossing the bridge, and the idea about common space swept through me. I kept questioning myself as to what lay at the root of nationalism, and I answered it myself by using the word race. This word had now become a near plague, an infectious construct that everyone around me wanted to emphasize as part of natural self-image. And when it came to publicly stating your identity, no one bothered to say they were teachers, scientists, lawyers, stevedores, workers, or refugees. They would say they were Ethiopian Jews, Latvian Catholics, or Druze Muslims. In some cases, they would say they were Levantine Syrian, or from Al-Mashriq, where the sun rose in the east. What mystification! What was missing in all this was even the slightest enthusiasm for variety, like eating together, in spite of. Whatever be the case, the elderly in their 80s still hung out together, smiled and talked about making weld repairs in shipyards, playing football together, repairing plaster on church walls, and eating together, and attending each other's weddings. Bridges were built in Europe, mostly for people to cross over, or just plan a meet on the bridge itself. And when I heard about where our country was headed, I realized that my grandfather Marcus had actually prevailed. While the rogue had not planned to demolish the bridge and forever segregate one community from another, there were constant discussions that the famous stone bridge at Sabzich had to come down. It was old. Cars could not pass. It was an eyesore, and it had lost its meaning.
Jim Orwell.
Wow, that was lovely, Cora. And Rana and bridges go together. This first poem, I have two short poems, is The Torso. It appeared in the review, Montreal Soirée, and I remember being delighted when I asked to submit, and when I saw this beautiful review, that is Montreal Soirée. But I can't remember which issue it was in, so I'll have to find out. Anyway, it's called The Torso, Musée Rodin, 1972. When I was a young man, I saw a body, an upper trunk of legless tree ending in a pool of bronze. I took one long, fixated, circular stare, flesh and bronze, rack of ribs, sinews strong, tying together my love of self and art for an hour. To move around it an inch, no less, revealed new chest, broad back, inspired new desire, another call to place a hand upon you or me. Horsemaster, naked gladiator, you taught me I was beautiful. Now I sit and weep at my disaster. Man is an animal. This second one is written recently. It doesn't have a Rana theme necessarily, but maybe you'll find something there. I hope you'll find something. Ports of call. Now is always the world of the people whose world heretofore it had not been. Much as the arrival of new life brings its loving gatherings. This is the justice of the world, this attention to the arrival of the newcomer. Their time has come. Waste not your time on resistance. Whether your far has not yet flashed its light into day, or has come far and through to where who you are, we now can see and say, or by the time you got there, you were no longer what you once had been. Such is life's setting. Such is its scene. Not knowing teaches you patience and hope. That your vessel is out there somewhere on the sea looking for its port of call. Constantly looking.
Now we'll see a video with Rana called Mumbai, Bloody Mumbai.
I'm going to do a piece that I wrote in Mumbai. I arrived in Mumbai a week after the carnage.
Caroline, where are you? Caroline's not going to read. I think in her spot, we will take a break and go have a little something to eat, I hope, because, you know, there's a lot of food out there. And all you people who are streaming, maybe you can go find, you know, something, you know, to nibble on as well. And we won't take very long, but so I'm going to turn this over at this moment to Jody, who's going to read on behalf of Gloria. While we're talking about people who couldn't be here, Sharon Lax and Sue Sokol are traveling back from Vancouver, I believe. And they're very, very sad that they can't be here with us. But anyway, so I think Ted has found the sound for the video. So we'll go ahead with the video. This is just a short piece.
I'm going to do a piece that I wrote in Mumbai. I arrived in Mumbai a week after the carnage last December, and it's called Mumbai Blood. Some time ago, when the Brits went home, they left behind some towers, some houses domed. They left behind marble cold, porridge, cucumber, chutney souls. They left behind hotels, motels, and bungalows with a 5-star door. They infected the press and TV with a parrot disease that made them squawk the word iconic at every get-go. Iconic like the Plaza in New York, like the Burj in Dubai, like the Sears Tower in Chicago. People who go there are the people that matter or simply don't care. So the Taj and the Trident got the coverage. Iconic, Taj, iconic. Now the peasants and coolies, so bucolic, who built Mumbai, lay bleeding bloody on the platform and railway lines. They got some coverage. No big deal, bucolic, not iconic. And some silly clods in ninja duds came roping down in aging chopper and played to the camera in raging tones. Meanwhile, them 10 nasty boys with nasty eyes and backpacks loaded waded ashore and did what they do to mow them down. The general folks who built Mumbai, bloody Mumbai. Now Obama nation needs some direction. They need the peace in the Asian nation. They want to ban the Taliban, the same Taliban they played footsie with when the Soviets roared and rumbled. Ironic, not iconic. Mumbai, bloody Mumbai, where Jews, Sikhs, Muslims, Christians have lived together with Hindus, rich, poor, builder, shopper, sailor, tradesman. Before the children of midnight were born, in 1947 dawn. Mumbai, bloody Mumbai. Mumbai, bloody Mumbai.
I'd like to read it for her. This is a poem that was published in Montreal Soirée magazine in the April issue. And she said in her email that she and Rana would salute each other with ciao, bella ciao, and she would answer Rana, ciao, bello ciao, in reference to the Italian protest song of the 19th century. Here is Gloria's poem entitled Latin America. There is a sun that laughs, lost in dreams, and happy curls of colorful birds in voices singing hymns, ignited by fantasies and visions of lost paradises, ignoring the waters of the seas with their piercing waves, pummeling my tears with salt and earth, the kind used by the sailors of the ancient continent to bury their dead. The same soil that takes our lives, that deceives us, granting us to continue day by day in that miserable little life of who got more or who will get more, without really wanting anything, only a bit of tranquility, who knows? Like the one that surrounded us when we were innocent children and filled our bellies with papaya nectar. There is a sun that believes it is holding me without realizing my body is a mountain of ashes, collected in urns of gold and clay, like those ancient ones who loaded, not knowing the weight of a future, cowardly and without mercy, like those that made us believe we were supportive and would never know what it is to lower our heads or open our legs without permission, without desire, not as when I am flooded in that music that makes and shakes me, covered in honey, forgetting the gall that devours my history, that crushes my senses for centuries and centuries. There is a sun that thinks it knows everything, annoying, that makes me sweat, feeling stuck without air, stored in snowy peaks, in desert valleys, dotted with reddish blue of troubled oceans, with palm trees and bougainvillea, dancers, ready to remind me of the beauty of this land, run down by horses and plundered by metallic boats, ready to take me to bankruptcy, to the pain of hunger, and to those differences of class that snatch my breath, suffocating me from sulfuric acid, virtual wires, and the sound of a disturbing rock and roll tasting of cola without coca. There is a sun that does not stop rising, that haunts me, that does not turn off, that does not leave me alone, that does not let me live, that only makes me dream. Gloria.
Hugh Hazelton will read a review that he did of Jocelyn Dubois' Memorial Suite in Montreal, Soirée.
One thing I really liked about Montreal Soirée, I really like, is that it's outreach, farther and farther to other cultures, other people. And so I was pleased to write a book review of Jocelyn Dubois' Memorial Suite. Delicate Mosaic. Jocelyn Dubois' latest book of poetry, Memorial Suite, is a beautiful, haunting work, written in a style uniquely her own. In some ways, it can be seen as a complement to her novel World of Glass, which followed the struggle of a young woman with bipolar disorder as she sought to extricate herself from a world of alienation, pain, terror, medication, and mental health facilities, and return to the joys of normal life, tranquility, and love. While the novel deals with the structure of this long and difficult path, however, the poems zero in on particular moments, people, moods, and sensations with a more intimate and immediate point of view. Dubois deftly uses everyday language to reveal the transcendence of human experience, exploring the power within the details of life. Maxiane Berger and Carmelita McGrath, whose insightful commentaries grace the back cover, point out the lyricism of her clear, spare lines, written in a direct, objective language that goes right to the core of each poem. Dubois' work is fundamentally autobiographical, but what difference does it make if the characters are actual people or are fictions in themselves? The symbolism that emerges from them may have been lived or invented, but it is real in every sense. Reading these poems, I was reminded of the transparent, informal style of William Carlos Williams, a physician himself, which often contained many more subtleties, connotations, and ambiguities than more florid works of the time. Dubois' lead poem, Hot Summer Night, is a delicate mosaic of action and feelings with an oblique, suggestive eroticism, as in, my body perspires, I desire, that lets the reader draw the connections rather than point them out directly. The eloquent last three lines of the poem then move into a moment of revelation that uses the images to take the poem far beyond, to an existential realization, giving them the impact of the final stanza of a Renaissance sonnet, which in fact the structure of the poem resembles. I quote, I cannot wash off what is perfect, what shines like crystal, something more than wind, stronger than rain, more solid than stone. Dubois is an expert at powerful end lines, often with a final word or image that flips the objective body of the poem onto an unexpected ironic plane. The speaker in Reproduction lets her pregnant sister take her hand and pass it over her curved belly at the same time as she is eating salad, and comments that, quote, when I leave hungry. In the poem Words, a woman speaks of her difficulty in returning from the numb realms of medications in psychiatric wards to the world of conversation and connection so that she can know precisely what not to say. And in the poem The Lady Upstairs, the speaker's neighbor, an elderly Slovak woman who lives alone, proudly shows her photos of her family, children and grandchildren who live in Texas and whom she calls on the telephone every few days. They say, I love you, she tells me. And the last stanza is Christmas card from her family, propped up on her kitchen table, unsigned. Jocelyn Dubois is also an accomplished visual artist who has exhibited her work in several galleries in Montreal. She specializes in palimpsests of painting, cloth, leaves, or other mixed media, and designs of colored pebbles, all covered in transparent varnish that holds things in place. The remarkable cover of Memorial Suite, with its intersecting and broken lines of stones, is one of her works. And all three sections of the book begin with black and white reproductions of other paintings, each of which is a reflection on the text, from the pearly aspect of Hot Summer Night to the vertical rows of stones like kernels of corn in Memorial Suite, to the swirling free flow of forms in A Second Chance, These three sections chart the path of her life, from her early years on her own, through the breakdown as she struggles from bipolar disorder, and on to healing, falling in love, and marrying. Many poets, such as William Blake, have been painters, and many painters, such as Francis Picabia, have been poets. Though perhaps it's better just to say that they are artists who express themselves in different mediums. Dubois' visual work has interesting parallels to her writing. The stones, arranged in different forms and chosen in particular colors, bring to mind the people she describes, always elevating the common to artistic recombination and a search for meaning. In the poem Colors, the speaker writes of her intention that when I die, I will donate them to a psychiatric hospital where walls are eggshell and bare to bring sun to those locked up. The title of the book undoubtedly alludes to many memorials, but principal among them is the Allen Memorial Psychiatric Hospital, perched on the side of Mount Royal, originally the home of a shipping magnate who named it Ravenscrag, and known in the 1960s for the clandestine CIA experiments in mind control that took place there. Dubois opens the second section of the book with a poem about it, contrasting the building's 19th century wealth and finery with the plastic chairs and styrofoam cups of the patients waiting there 100 years later. The individual poems, several of which are titled Jocelyn, are portraits of patients, nurses, and doctors, bare-boned word sketches of isolation, powerlessness, and loneliness, in which her observations are like brushstrokes in a Zen painting. The author's realism is kind, but doesn't include either false hope or patronizing cliches. Each person is unique, with their own hopes and delusions, stuck in a mental paralysis between illness and medication, or ill-tempered from working there too long. Writing is her liberation. It carries her through her isolation and finally into the gradual, longed-for recovery of the last section of the book, in which rigidity and loneliness fall away as she reconnects with people and the natural world, where color, music, laughter, and pleasure return, giving her a renewed life of surprise and serenity, and filling the reader with joy and relief. As I finished reading Memorial Suite, I was reminded of the words of Allen Ginsberg's mother, who struggled with mental illness and confinement, in his poem Kaddish. I quote, "The key is in the sunlight at the window." Thank you.
Yes, one of the marvelous things about Soirée was the scope given to reviewers to really explore their material. I myself did a review of George Eliot Clarke's J'accuse. I don't know how many thousands of words it was, but, you know, on the internet there are no pages, so that's an advantage. Anyway, I think we're going to have a break, So, and enjoy the food out there, and then we'll have a few more readers and a little video as well. So, well, let's imbibe and celebrate and deguste. Deguste? That's a well, anyway, Spanish word. Spanish.
So are you, your book is almost published, is
Okay. Oh, okay. So hello. Thank you for people who are following on YouTube. Thank you for your patience while we had a little break. And maybe you're there, maybe you're not. It's okay. We're just waiting for people to find their seats again. Oh, thank you. I think they are. I just have to check something.
There are no more. We had to thank to get in. We see people walk in this place, not coming here, who don't know how to get out, trying to figure out how to get out of this whole complex. But of which we retreat only trying to get in. Those were the ones where we were, you know. Before I forget, will I follow up with you in terms of somehow getting
Poems?
some of the poems? Do that through my
Hello again. Hello. So, Marie-Josée is going to sing for us. Yes. So, come up and I'll make sure that the mic's in the right place.
Right in ma face.
C'est
Hein? Oui, je pense que oui. C'est bon. OK, je vais faire ça après. J'aimerais ça dire juste un petit mot. I want to thank the lounge Soirée too, because several years ago they had a contest and I participated. And so what I create, it was hope, the subject, and I create a film, and I won the prize for the soundtrack, and I put my text and I put my photographs like one by one, and so it's like stop motion, and I sang on it. So. And now this film, it's called I Teach Night. It's in English. I was inspired in English. I did not have time to translate it. So, but I'm very honored because it went to the Festival of Imaginative in 22, and in 23 it went to the Future of Film Showcase, and I won the best soundtrack. So I won an award for that. So and I won a prize too. And CBC at Canadian Reflection, they bought my film for a license for 3 years on Canadian Reflection. So like that. So and in November it's going in Germany, Leipzig. Well, yes. So and it's going to go in Colombia after. So I'm very honored, and I have great thoughts for you. Okay, I'm there if there's anything. Okay, and Rana, I think we did not talk very much, but for what we bound to each other, connect. He believes in me, so in that I'm going to take my wings out with the pandemic and come out. So stop hiding. So the text before I read to you, I did not read it all, but I was because I feel like I'm scrolling, on the computer, the text. So at the end, I included that song because it's a lot about identity. So I think Rana and I, we understood each other. So and this song is called Ni l'une ni l'autre, neither one, neither the other. And I had a film too I made and produced with Wapikoni. So. Même adopté, aimé, même hébergé, choisi, même avec une famille, je suis ni l'une ni l'autre. Même si je t'ai cherché, même si je t'ai trouvé, même si rien n'a fonctionné, je suis ni l'une ni l'autre. Même quand je danse et prie, même au son du tambour, même en présence de l'aigle, je suis ni l'une ni l'autre. Même si je suis Anishinaabe, même si je suis un peu blanche, même un peu mélangée, oh, je suis ni l'une ni l'autre. Hey, 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 je suis ni l'une ni l'autre. 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 Léonie, thank you, merci. And Miigwech. Je ne vais pas toutes les nommer, là. Et puis, juste pour terminer, j'ai mon drum, mais si je prends mon drum, je ne pourrais pas le faire en Abénaki. Fait que je pense que je vais le faire a cappella et je vais le faire en abénaki. Alors, cette chanson, elle est pour les femmes disparues et assassinées du Canada, les femmes autochtones. Et donc, cette chanson est pour vous, mes sœurs. Donc, Lintowanganek, Odzai, Odze, Kewon, Nezakasoak. Kea Nezakaso, Endabana me onwe Kea. Kea Nezakaso, Endabana no me onwe Kea. Asma, 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 asma. Pour vous, mes sœurs, que je ne reverrai plus jamais, jamais, jamais. Pour vous, mes sœurs, disparues, assassinées. Pour vous, mes sœurs, que je ne reverrai plus jamais, jamais, jamais. Asma, 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 asma. Hey, Odze ke owan ezakasoak, endabana me onwe ke owan. Odze ke owan ezakasoak, nadbana me onwe ke owan. Asma, 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 asma. Je ne vous reverrai plus jamais, 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 jamais. Mes sœurs assassinées. Je ne vous reverrai plus jamais. Mes sœurs disparues, assassinées. Odze ke owan ezakasoak, endabana me onwe ke owan. Thank you, Miigwech, Leonie.
I guess I'm not supposed to. Ah, okay. All right, there. Okay. So, that was the death rattle. Anyway. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, that was very powerful. Thank you. Very deep. And yeah, Beta, I think it brought us in touch with something deep and profound for all of us, eh? So thank you. Okay. Maya, sorry, I can't. I need to read you. Yeah, Kankoje. Oh, sorry, we're going to have a video?
Go ahead. You introduced, you called Maya.
Okay, I called Maya. All right, so we'll have Maya and then the video. Sorry, Maya.
Je ne suis ni l'une ni l'autre reminds me of a song by Facundo Cabral. No soy de aquí ni soy de allá. Alors c'est la même chose partout. Merci, madame. I'll be reading an abbreviated review of the last book that Rana wrote, abbreviated because I didn't want to waste your time. Schaff and the Remington. The story of Schaff and the Remington starts off with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, then arches up with Adolf Hitler's rise to power and his invasion of Poland, and pauses with the end of World War II. Relations with Mikhail Gorbachev's glasnost and perestroika in 1985. Notwithstanding a turbulent century and the presence of a Remington as an iconic protagonist in this story, Schaff and the Remington is not a tale of war. It is a tale of life, of the lives of real people, and an affirmation of their capacity to live together in peace as good neighbors, in spite of their different languages, religions, ethnic origins, and dietary habits. It is a story of humanity's resilience and its innate impulse towards peace and conviviality, if only false prophets and purveyors of weapons did not meddle. It is a story that speaks to us today. This is indeed a complex novel with a deep subtext and numerous flashbacks and flash-forwards. It is narrated from different viewpoints in different locations and at different times, but this should not deter readers, just the opposite. Bose, the writer, resorts to playful language and the light touch to deftly reduce a complex human universe to its simplest subatomic components. Bose, the engineer, cleverly resorts to quantum physics to explain to readers that human behavior is not subject to a linear analysis. The author zeroes in on the very core, which simply means heart. The ending closes the loop and returns to where the story began, for another generation to take over. It is no coincidence that Rana Bose has dedicated this book, his best in his compact corpus of novels, to Josephine Chameli, Colette Daisy, and Fran Amilla, who are obviously not here because they might get a little bit bored. Not merely as an affectionate gesture from a doting grandfather to his young grandchildren, but as a pledge and a token of faith for them not to repeat history. Thanks.
Okay, so we'll have the video now. It's a video with Rana reading I Want Winter and The Cosmology of Beat. The latter poem actually I published with Zav Levinson in a review called Jonah online. And we find the presentation of Jonah, it's a little bit, it's interrupted by ads and things like that. But if you print it out, you get a beautiful printout. So I just discovered that today. So anyway.
Hi, my name is Rana Bose. I'm a Montrealer for about 45 years. I'd like to thank the Black Theatre Workshop and Dina Smith for inviting me. I'm a writer, a poet, and surprise, surprise, I'm also an engineer. I like to Hi, my name is Rana Bose. I'm a Montrealer for...
You know, I've
Hi, my name is Rana Bose. I'm a Montrealer for about 45 years. I'd like to thank the Black Theatre Workshop and Dina Smith for inviting me. I'm a writer, a poet, and surprise, surprise, I'm also an engineer. I like to engage in poetry that is of significance to the people I associate with and the general population. And it makes me enormously happy to be here today and present some of my poems. Thank you very much. I'm going to read a poem that I wrote in 2014 when Gaza was being bombed and 500 children were killed. It's called I Want Winter. I want winter at this point, and I want winter back. I want the mist above the snow on a river below a bridge and nothing else. I want a lone pianist playing on a pier whose end can't be seen. I want him to play single notes on a long bridge with one note for every child and nothing else. I want the end of this summer of blood, dust, ripped banners, grimaces, anger, of coiled, hissing vipers spitting on friends who stand up alone against drunken militia on billions in dole. I want the mirth, the couches with beer, the lawless in their patio, on a hilltop cheering, foaming, darting around. I want them all gone. I want winter and nothing else. I want an endless pier, a bridge, a piano player, a hammer for a finger, playing one note for one child and nothing else. This is a poem called The Cosmology of Beat. It's been evolving since the late 70s, and all through the years I've been revising and editing it. So the last edit was done a few weeks back. The Cosmology of Beat. In the cosmology of beat, there are backbent cars parked on roads, detritus beside lampposts. Rooftops above the 5-spot with curling smoke rising from black gray still shots on walls of poetry on fire with desire. Uppermost in the narrow corridors of prized lofts going for cheap. Still shots of a messiah standing slouched, pouting defiantly on Worcester and Bleecker, mumbling Sanskrit slokas, Le Sang des Poètes painted on the walls. Leroy Baraka, the lone gunfighter, pensive in a loft up there, or standing in the wings, or leaning against a piano that weeps and faints, as he begins to recite the tale of his baptism by Bob, in a black and white space, septic, surrounded by Peter and Jack, pounding on Underwoods, fueled by whiskey with handwritten labels. In the cosmology of beat, there are black iron stairs that escape to below, where sulks a twist at the end of a martini, at the bottom of the glassy pit, empty as muffled horns screech to a cued stop for a jalapeno and chips and a squeeze break for the needy. In the cosmology of beat, the mind sits, armed only with a swizzle stick, swirling the dust from the Buddhist Tantra that makes the cosmos sound like physics gone to shit. In the cosmology of beat, there is hope. that the hum and the swirl and the chance that a sound will emerge, and bulbs will sway, and faces will turn in corridors where whispers and chants once did ricochet. In the cosmology of beat, it is said that beats will come in technicolor, in hectafacca chrome, beats from a bongo, a harp, a piano will bojangle, and bow beat from a sax on the edge of the metro. Will tunnel down and take you away in a whoosh, instead of the idiotic obsession with Om. Thank you.
Is that okay? I wanted to read just a little bit of an email exchange with Rana from December 2017, after we learned about the death of his dear friend Abby Lipman, and we were just about to publish the magazine. We were almost ready to go. And at 12:06, I guess afternoon, I was writing to him about a question about Abby and whether we could add one of her poems and something else in the editorial in the Spirit issue. And I think 6 minutes later, Rana wrote to me saying, "Bizarre. I am just writing you all a very similar letter. I strongly request that we dedicate this issue to Abby with, as Jody suggested, both her poems and also her last note to us. That was Abby. Like, here is something, like it or lump it. I am just missing her. Can one of you please lay it out? We are on time. This won't take too long, please. Here's a pic, photo of Abby." Abby's poem was called Lost. Where are we when lost in thoughts? Where are the minds that a person loses? The lost words and faces not recalled? Where is our temper when we lose it? What is lost in translation? Where do these lost thoughts, feelings, these lost words go? Do they live? Do they die? Surely they are not like the socks and gloves gone missing in a clothes dryer. And what about the person for whom all this is lost? What remains of her? And where is she to be found? Abby Lipman. I was sure Rana would love to have Abby here with us. Now I'd just like to read 2 poems of mine, and I am always grateful to Rana and Lisa and the other members of Montreal Soirée for letting us all put our heads up and stand forward and grow and have a team behind us to do it, gathering our courage. The first poem is called Ellipse, from the Greek word ellipsis, a defect or ellipse, from the verb elipien, to fall short, so named from falling short of a perfect circle. Ellipse. I am the chaos of my Father's order. I am the conscience of his delight. I am the fantasy of his prison. I am the mirror of my Father's light. I am the axis of his revolution. I am the blood of my Father's heart. I am the darkness of my Father's moon, the imperfect orbit of his sun. I am the usher of my Father's shadow. I am the fault lines of his shield. I am the anguish of his freedom. I am the language of his dream field. I am the hollow of my Father's morning. I am the blueness of his night. I am the calm of his darkest passage. I am the mirror of his light. And a last poem, For Daughters I Can't Call Mine. If only you knew that the dead never die, you'd step off this path, feel the moss coolly meshing your toes, let the sharp green needles prick, sit down and cry till the ground is soaked. Remember sky, earth, rot, old life, new, seed, egg, zygote, let zygotes begot zygotes. Lie, ear to the ground, salty, wet. Listen. Wait for the goat god, Pan, to lick you. Ask him, what does he want? Stop translating what he says. Let it rumble through you, pure panic force from inner earth. Accept his offering. Bow your head. Give thanks. Your earth father claims you.
Danielle wanted to read a poem. Yes, that's right.
Okay, hello. Okay, it works. Okay. Well, I'm new to Montreal, so I could not know Rana at all, but I'm here now, and this poem here is a funeral poem for a classmate of ours. She was the first of us to die, but I think this can be valid for any other death. Was it or not another life? Few traces left, some faded bracelets on wrists, orphan rings on fingers. If I wash off me layers of dust from years previous, must I feel guilty? Oh, if only it was that easy. Is there any sense in living one day and the next day just going away like nothing happened? I don't have meaning if uprooted from my meaning. It's as if I were dreaming, a part of projection of an imagination a bit too vivid, too juvenile, and too damn volatile and fleeting. What is the advantage of having neither past nor future, existing in a forever present? How should life be if lived as one's present and not as a duty? Was there ever one, even one connection between all this? Or was it a totally different life and I, a completely different person? No, it was not another life. It was this one. Lived with a mysterious consistency and with such insistence. And it has been an energy that was never created or ever destroyed. It simply rotated year after year, project by project, discipline by discipline. And I swear to the heavens above, I don't care whether you believe there's a heaven or there is none, that whenever, if we ever should once again find us made up of same substance or synchronized in the same frequency, then there is no doubt that we shall meet again.
Yes. The lives of those we know and love reverberate within us. I don't know. Okay. Schaff and the Remington. It's not actually about a man and his relationship with his typewriter. The Remington in this case is a rifle, and it's a story of a mentor and disciple in a way. There's this man's teacher whose girlfriend and mother are murdered, and he goes off and becomes a partisan, and this boy sees this rifle in the closet, and it changes his life. And so I found this a very arresting passage, and it kind of expresses the terror and exhilaration of being alive, and I felt it would be appropriate to just share this. Okay, so it's in chapter 14, beginning of chapter 14. Imagine if there was one event in your life that set a trench on fire inside your body, running through your veins, your seams, all the canals inside you. So chilling that it left an indelible scar on the rest of your existence. A searing groove cut in a straight line from that extraordinary event right up to every turning point in the rest of your life. And along the way it influenced, pushed, and corralled your thoughts and actions, even your beliefs, towards a similar direction. The event, mysterious, mystical, intimidating, or annoying, left questions unanswered, but was the center of a quake that registered sharply then and made you tremble even now. Did I have such an event in my life? Let me explain. Imagine if you could explain all your hesitations, vicissitudes, as well as your confident strides in any particular direction as flowing from that one event. The event could have been inspirational or could have been outright trauma, but it also had a satisfying mystical element to it, so much so that you long to revisit it in your mind as often as possible. As an example, I have read about a spiritual happening when a whole village trotted out once a year in the middle of winter to see the mystical blooming of a particular maroon flower inside a cavernous rock face and the withering of it within a week. No questions were asked. No answers were received. The event brought peace and calm to the hamlet. The silent trek up the mountain to see the flower bloom and die provided solace for each one. No words were exchanged, no sounds were heard. The silent procession proceeded up the hill. Meanwhile, tumult raged inside the valley. In the town further down below, civil strife was rampant. Riots were happening. Houses were set on fire. But no one seemed to care in the silent caravan as it went up the mountain. And I've heard of a situation in a neighboring country where there was a magical appearance of a goat on a hilltop at the same time, every year in a certain village. And there were situations where the hands of a teacher in school wandered strangely over your limbs when you were only 6 years old. A cousin or friend who disappeared in the middle of a family strife, and nobody talked about it any longer. Pivotal events, no doubt. But my single incident experience was something much simpler and yet crushing in what it conveyed. It was real and unforgettable. It was the sudden burst of shine that I saw coming out of the closet in my sister's bedroom, when the door was left open inadvertently. I kept revisiting it, although I did not have to, because that shine, that glint, had already had a permanent impact on everything that I feared, dreaded, hated, and yet imagined at some point as some sort of ominous symbol of things gone wrong. When I looked at the Remington, it stared back at me. I was going to read a brief poem of my own that got published in Soirée. Oh God, I don't want to have any echoes here. Don't even record it. It's going to be echoing. All right. So anyway, this was published in. Let me see. It was early in 2020. I think April 2020, and it was at the height of the pandemic. And when we were all in masks and isolation, there were no vaccines in sight. Everybody was terrified. So this is what I wrote. It's called Stranger. And of course, in the sense of stranger as a person, but also as a descriptive adjective, stranger. I'm getting stranger and stranger. So, stranger. Cloth mask on my face. Breath rises. Warms my watery eyes, clouds these lenses I look through. Everything before me, the empty streets, the wary pedestrians, weaving away as I approach, wrapped in my own gray fog. But wasn't it always this way? We are demarcated now by tape, signs, arrows, as we stand in line, each in his or her own 2-meter square box of air. We walk the edges of sidewalks, step into the street to evade the oncoming vectors of illness, void the vector of illness that is ourselves. To reach through these shields, to touch, hold hands, kiss, impossible, or if not, an assault. But wasn't it always, to some extent, this way? Strapped to a machine, alone, the suck, thump, thump, suck, thump, thump, lights beating faster, faster, as water rises in the lungs, panic rising as I choke on each hasty, shallow breath. Is this the end? But wasn't it always this way? Okay. I have to look at my phone. I usually print things out. Yeah. I can't see. Okay. Oh, there's a video with Rana and Brother Willis, so.
Yes, that's why that thing made the funny noise. You walked off stage, so I turned it on.
Ah, okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I know I didn't want to be holding all these papers. Okay, so.
So now we know the secret of the video. Start at home. Oh, yes, thank you. Details. Oh, my goodness. Okay. It's very short. Some of you have seen this video before, but does the heart good to see it? So we'll let this warm up a little bit, and it's 42 seconds.
This is Brother Willis on Valentine's Day having duck bacon. Do you want more? Okay. Porter? Okay, good boy. Other Porter, other ball. No, yeah, this ball. Ball. Put that down. Okay, never mind. It's difficult, I understand. Okay,
Or maybe one day I'll get a techie. Oh, turn that thing off. Oh, you see why I need a technologist or whatever you call it. I don't know. Was that my own word? A technician. Yeah, somebody who loves technology. I need a technologist or something. Who knows? No, I don't need a Luddite. Please, please. I mean, I Ted's quite clever, but he can't be in two places at once. And so, yes, let me pause here. Let me pause here before I do my little thing and just say, thank you, Ted. Thank you for schlepping all this equipment and making us stream and, and we're all, yes. And yeah. And we hope that you really are following this streaming situation somewhere in the world. Thank you. And I want to thank Brian for being my co-host a very long time and putting up with me when we didn't have a script. Usually we write scripts because our minds are not so, orderly anymore. But thank you, and thank you. And thank you, Jody. Thank you so much for your kindness and for helping me think about how this would be, and just for you being you. But yeah, and just a little aside. Jody helped me with edits on my poem that I'm going to read a part of. And I'm so notoriously bad with punctuation, my new editor has had me remove most of it. Just take it out, Jan. No more periods. No more commas. You don't know where to put them. So anyway, but I also want to thank all of our visitors. We have people who are new to me, and I'm so glad that you're here with us. And as we remember this really amazing man, and I'm glad to see old friends of the Lawn Chair Soirée, and I want to thank the people who read tonight in the open mic. So, Nigel, Thomas, thank you so much. Marie-Josée, merci. Merci pour les chants et les mots. Yes, I never got very far with my French. And thank you, Jody, for reading Gloria Masher's poem so beautifully. Where are you? There you are, Hugh. Thank you for your lovely essay and your reading of it. And Caroline, you didn't read after all, but you were so wonderful to help me with the food, so thank you so much. And now, oh dear, I'm going to try hard. Mayak Holje. Thank you. Thank you for your graceful presentation. And again, I thank you, Jody, for your lovely words. And again, I thank you, Brian, for your words, your beautiful words. And thank you, Lisa, for sending me. I missed you. I missed your name. It was somewhere there under Cora. How did I miss Cora too? Whoa! Like my mind went blip. Oh well, I have an excuse anyway. But First, I'm going to finish thanking Lisa for sending me the videos. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to go back to the top of the list, and I'm going to say, Cora, beautiful words. Thank you. Thank you. And Jim, as always, fitting words, and thank you. Thank you. Okay, did I miss anybody else on the list? Quick. Yes? Danielle, yes, because your name isn't on the list. Oy vey, Esmir. Okay. Yes, but yes, but I have no attention span. I did think of you earlier, but I forgot to say it here. Thank you for your funeral poem. It was very touching. Thank you. And I'm sorry for that loss. And I'm sorry for our loss that we share this night. Are we okay now? Okay, thank you. It takes a room to keep Jan Jorgensen on track. I think I always wanted to do stand-up, but it's really beyond me. But anyway. Anyway. Thank you for being here. Durja, thank you. I didn't know Rana as long as many of you, and I didn't know him well, but I think it was you, Brian, that I have to thank for introducing me to Rana. And he came to the lawn chair soiree, and I heard Fog for the first time, and then I read it. And I will say again, what gorgeous prose. Such gorgeous prose, so very poetic, you know? And I think he was going through the stem cell transplant, and we were communicating. And, oh, you need to know this. So here's Rana, political science, engineering, brilliant artist, pastor. And so, and poet maybe, yeah. And it was fine. And he told me what he appreciated about the Jesuits who instructed him was his education. And that was enough. But he didn't mind, I think, if I said I was praying for him. And he understood what it really is, and that is just holding someone in love. And I think when you take someone in your heart, you know, it hurts when they're gone. And I'm very, very grateful that we can be in this intimate space and remember Rana and give thanks once again for his life and to hear him and see him, and we will continue to continue to celebrate the gift that he has been. And this poem, it's like a long poem. I think it's 13 pages. I don't know, it's really long. I don't know that I would have finished it without Rana. Because one day Rana wrote me an email. He was so thrilled because he knew I was United Church of Christ from the States. And there was a United Church of Christ congregation on the border between the U.S. and Mexico that was making a big stand in support of the asylum seekers. And he wrote it, he sent it to me, look, Jan, look. And I wrote back, oh, great, I know that person. And then I sent him like the first half of this poem. And he said, oh, do you want to publish it? He was always good at encouraging, right? In Montreal, Soirée. And I said, oh, it's not done. He said, well, you have until, I think, the 15th. I don't know. Anyway, so I wrote, and I sent it. And as I said, Jody fixed it. And I have to tell you, did I say this again before? My poems are living, you know, they decide they need to change again. They rearrange themselves sometimes. But anyway, this is what I have now. It's the first section of A Postmodern Hell. Circumstance and sorrow had aged me by the time I found my way into the fire-blighted wood, scorched by flames rising up from an earth ravaged by explorations for oil, its water table plundered relentlessly by impulses of avarice, until there seemed no more hope. I found my way through the still warm surroundings, and bowing under the leaning tower, once tree, soot above me, ashes beneath, glimpsed the hellish minds of those who had contrived this destruction. Here were those who had destroyed life, reducing sentient beings of leaf and wood to rectangular pieces of colored paper. Here were those who betrayed the created order, consigning beast and bird and creeping thing to death. CEOs and sycophants moaned of perishing thirst, writhed with silent burning for each stolen molecule, each lost life, until the original suffering had been undone. I marveled that their empathy, once abandoned, was transmuted to embodiment, and prayed that this vision be within them, a long nightmare, awakening them to compassion, so that returning to the world, they might spend a lifetime making amends and working for restoration. And I think what the Florida poet had in common with that multifaceted man from India is we want the right thing to be done. It's even greater than justice. It's that the right thing be done. And so, maybe so. Let's go out and do our best. And let's give thanks for the goodness we find in the world. Thank you. You know how I used to end weddings? I say, how do I say it? Go forth? No. Yeah. No? No. Go forth and celebrate love, or something like that. Yeah.